Why do those poodles keep bothering me?
They want you to be like them.
Wow. You were a poodle too.
I tried to be, but
You're not nearly as annoying.
I'm Raul.
It's a special presentation of Falling with Style. I'm Doug.
And I'm Derek.
And typically, each episode of this ongoing Pixar Movie Marathon podcast is dedicated to exactly one movie in the Pixar Animation Studios canon. But for the next couple months, we are covering movies and a bit of television made by other studios, each of which includes clear, unafraid, and unambiguous depictions of queerness. For more information on why we're breaking formula, check out our short special presentation introduction. This episode, we're talking about Wendell and Wild. Wendell and Wild was a joint production between Netflix Animation, Monkey Paw Productions, and the Gotham Group. Wendell and Wild was directed by Henry Selick and written by Selick and Jordan Peele, based on an unpublished children's book by Selick and Clay McLeod Chapman. It was produced by Selick, Peele, Ellen Goldsmith-Vane, and Wynn Rosenfield. Wendell and Wild was released widely on October 28th, 2022 through Netflix. And prior to preparing for this conversation, I'd just seen it the one time, probably like right when it dropped, and haven't watched it since. So I was really excited to revisit it. And Derek, I'm actually not sure if this is one you had seen before.
Yeah, I saw it also around the time that it dropped. It was another one of our, like Tokyo Godfathers, it was one of my book and movie club picks. We did a Halloween pick, and this was the movie for it, right when it came out.
Just in time. That's so perfect.
Yeah.
But we are not alone for this one. I am very excited about who we get to talk to today. He's a producer, screenwriter, editor, actor, comedian, playwright. He does it all. In fact, his upcoming debut short film, Ornithomancy, is one that he wrote, produced, and is starring in. He received a Southland Honors Cultural Arts Award for his contribution to the Los Angeles queer community through his charity club event, Black Bear Joy, and he's the winner of the Mr. Bear Los Angeles Pageant 2023. You can find videos of his stand-up comedy and general comedy work on Instagram and TikTok. And honestly, if you knew about the LA Bear thing, his videos have probably already found you. It's Marquis the Honey Bear. Hello, Marquis.
Hello. Nice to be here. I've never met bears before.
Oh my gosh.
The first time for me.
Welcome to our podcasting den.
Thank you. And that introduction was beautiful. I'm going to
thank you.
play it to myself every time I feel insecure or imposter syndrome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to talk to you. I
Yeah.
feel like we've got a bit of a celebrity in the house. So,
Yeah, I'm brushing my invisible bang behind my headphones.
beautiful. So demure.
So mindful.
So we're talking about Wendell and Wild today, and we're definitely going to talk more about the folks who made it and other things that they have made. But Marquis, what is your background with Wendell and Wild? Had you seen it? Were you anticipating it before it came out? Was it something typically on your radar or off your radar? What is the story?
So I am a Jordan Peele truther. I love that man so much. Monkey Paw is my Roman Empire. I don't know if that's still a thing that people say. So I saw it like right when it dropped, I think night of or like the next day. This was on my radar, and I had to rewatch it like yesterday because I had forgotten because it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I saw it right off rip. I really enjoyed it. It felt to me like one of those tragedies of streaming releases of like this movie is so gorgeous and I feel like it has such a potential to have like a really huge sort of core line level cultural significance, and I really wish I think it really got to have that, but I really wish it got a theatrical release. I think this
Yeah.
movie would have been so amazing with that theatrical release. But I really love this film. Jordan Peele, for listening. I'm available.
Hey. Yeah, I'm with you. I hope that someday we get, I know it's a Netflix production, but I hope we get like an anniversary theatrical release at some point. I know Coraline just did one recently that did really, really well. I know that's a totally different scenario, but stop motion can sell theatrical tickets too. We promise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And stop motion is just so, I mean, so much time and work goes into it that I
Mhm.
wanted to get like the most eyes, the most like pristine viewing experience possible.
Yeah.
So, but this movie has a cool factor, which makes me feel like
Yes.
it's going to have a resurgence, like a cult classic type. We're gonna all
Yeah.
rediscover this film, because it's a good one. It's a
Yeah.
good one.
I hope so. Because it really felt, I think it was very undermarketed at the time. Like, not a lot
Yes.
was written about it. And I think it was, like, weirdly considering it was a Jordan Peele project and Henry Selick's first movie since Coraline. It's like, you'd think you would, like, make it, like, it wasn't merchandised at all. And it's just, and even though these characters and designs and everything seem like so perfect for like having toys and figures and t-shirts and stuff. So it really feels like they really missed the mark on like making this a potential cultural touchstone, and it really does a disservice to it, because I think that this is a movie that really could hit with like a much wider audience than it probably hit with.
Absolutely. I would have been the first person at Hot Topic getting a Wendell
Right.
Wild shirt,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
would have been wearing that. Absolutely. So yeah, I feel like I feel like this is one of those sleeper hits that I hope gets its time in the sun.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, the journey of Nightmare Before Christmas is a wild one too. So who knows when it'll drop at Hot Topic and take whatever generation by storm.
Yeah, hopefully the tariffs will not affect,
Oh,
the shipping on these Wendell Wild,
Mhm.
merch.
Well, you mentioned the stop motion of it all. This miniseries has allowed us to cover lots of styles and methods of animation we don't typically encounter because we were just covering Pixar's films. And so this is another example of that with stop motion. If people only listen to us because of Pixar and they only like CG animation, briefly, stop motion is one of the oldest forms of animation, if not the oldest. While traditional animation is a series of sequential two-dimensional drawings or paintings, stop motion animation is a series of sequential photographs of typically three-dimensional objects. And I'm sure someone is saying, how is that different than live action film? Which is a good question. The simplest difference is that in live action film, your subjects are moving and you're recording them moving, and it's turning those into still images. But with stop motion, you're taking pictures of still images and then creating the illusion of movement. So it's an incredible art form. It's extremely cool. It can be used to make entire films like this one, of course, but it can also be used just for special effects. So things like King Kong or Jason and the Argonauts, and then like small examples of it that I was encountering. Augustus Gloop shooting up the chocolate river tube in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was
I didn't know that was
done
stop
with
motion.
stop motion.
Oh.
Yeah, or Tim Allen going down a chimney, stop motion.
Huh.
The changing of the tracks in Temple of Doom, stop motion.
Really?
So sometimes it's just for special effects. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
more you
my-
know
my-
star just like flew past my eyes.
Yeah, that's so
It's
cool.
a really, really cool method.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite instance of stop motion, the first Terminator movie, when he's the stop motion Terminator at the end during the factory chase sequence. Coolest shit I've ever
Yeah.
seen in my life. It's so cool.
My honorable mention to stop motion is the Parks and Recs episode.
Yes.
Because I think that is very pivotal in the stop motion canon. That 5 seconds,
It changed everything.
everything. The culture was
You think a
never the
depressed
same.
person could make this?
Yep. More things should have stop motion, you know? It's always a
Yeah.
delight nowadays, too, when things have stop motion, because I feel like a lot of times it was seen as a necessary method for certain special effects, and now it's used primarily as like an artistic method for special effects, and I just think that's awesome. Like Star Wars movies still use little bits and pieces of stop motion when they don't have to, and I love them for that, as much as I can be frustrated with them for other things.
Absolutely. I have so many dissertations I could do on Star Wars and my thoughts on it. It's been another time,
Sure.
but I agree with you completely.
Let's talk about the legends who made this. It's a very interesting marriage, Henry Selick and Jordan Peele, but it sounds like it was kind of a perfect one once it happened, which is very exciting to me. So Henry Selick is known for working in stop motion. He does say, unsurprisingly, it's his favorite method of filmmaking. Two of his films, Coraline and The Nightmare Before Christmas, He directed Nightmare Before Christmas, everybody.
Not
Not
Tim
Tim
Burton.
Burton. Say it with me, everybody. But both of those movies are among the top 10 highest grossing stop motion films of all time, which is a pretty big accomplishment. There aren't too many double appearances on that list. He also directed 1996's James and the Giant Peach and 2001's Monkey Bone. I tried so hard to find Monkey Bone and can't. I mean, I'm sure I can find it if I just dig, but it wasn't immediately available to me. I was very curious to check it out.
A famously weird, not well-liked movie, but I think one that's like fascinating to watch because of how weird and broken it kind of is. You know, and it's Brendan Fraser.
That's what interests.
Yeah,
that's what interests me. Well, Brendan Fraser certainly interests me about it, but the fact that it is not well liked and Henry Selick's other stuff is like so iconically well liked was what made me interested. Have you seen Monkey Bone?
I have not, but I always appreciate a movie where it's like the girls that get it. A movie that's not for everyone. I have to check it out. I am somebody who my Letterboxd watch list is always growing tenfold every day.
Oh yeah.
So I will be adding that for sure.
Coraline was Selick's last film before Wendell and Wild, but he was working on a stop motion film between Coraline and this one at, believe it or not, Pixar Animation Studios. We can't escape it. We tried to do a miniseries that wasn't Pixar, and we can't escape them.
It's all connected.
The film was called The Shadow King. It was meant to be a co-production between Pixar and what would have become, big tier, what would have become Selick's new studio under a long-term contract to produce stop-motion films, plural. It was well into production. It was into animation, according to Selick, which for stop motion is especially a big deal. But long story short, Selick says in no uncertain terms that the film was canceled because of John Lasseter. Is this a story either of you are familiar with?
I am not, but I love the drama.
Right?
My understanding of it is that, like, I think Selick and Lasseter knew each other previously because they went to Cal Arts together, I think.
They sure did.
So that's how they sort of had the connection, and why Pixar was like willing to be like, hey, because they never made any other studio that was like a Pixar adjacent or like spin-off type studio, right? Like this was their one and only attempt to do another studio that was kind of like in conjunction with Pixar, but doing a different type of animation, right? So, but I say that because I think it makes sense to be like, hey, I already know Henry Selick personally, and he's made these amazing films, so it makes sense to be this to be the guy that does our one chance at a spinoff studio. But I also know my understanding with Selick is that as much as he's an artiste, he also is kind of like famously a little bit prickly to work with and has to like work with the right people, or else he's just gonna push back on every note you give him, which, like, more power to him, push back on the executive notes, but it makes it hard for movies to get made, hence why he's only made like 4 movies instead of what should have been many, many more.
Yeah. Marquis, if you live for the drama, get this. This is how Selick describes his relationship to Lasseter.
Oh, God.
I know him. We're not friends, but I know him. I went to Cal Arts with him.
Oh my God.
You know,
Incredible.
brevity is the air of wit. I appreciate that. Says everything it needs to say. And also, I worked in comics before, and I know a lot of people like animation, and so I don't know the specific drama, but Cal Arts is often invoked when somebody's trying to like talk about somebody else's prickly personality. So, you know, I feel like contextually I'm starting to piece things together.
Yeah, I mean, so many current influential animators went to Cal Arts that it's impossible not to be this like incestuous drama-filled pool of animation, you know?
It's like when people talk about actors and they are of the annoying variety, and they are like, oh, well, they want the Tish. And then that says everything you need to know about the person.
The fact that I'm not in that world and have heard that before, and it all just clicks into place right now as you tell me this, I'm like, oh, interesting.
Completely adds all the texture you need.
It's incredible. Yeah, he I heard him say that on a podcast, so it wasn't even just reading it, and I like stopped dead in my tracks because I was like cackling at the way he described that relationship. It was amazing. Selick says that allowing the Pixar brain trust, which we've talked plenty about in our actual Pixar episodes, which he does acknowledge works very well for Pixar. He says that allowing the brain trust to provide input on the Shadow King was like, quote, taking your kid to the playground and watching your kid get beat up every day. It really wasn't meant to be.
Oh my God.
Damn.
So I think it became really, really clear that despite the contract that they made, where I think Selick really pushed for like, none of your notes can be mandatory. I have to be able to veto all your notes. I don't know that he necessarily could have anticipated like how involved the Pixar brain trust is in creating stories and developing stories. And with something like stop motion, once you start production, every change you make, everything you have to redo, jacks the budget up like crazy. And so he said, you know, basically John Lasseter couldn't help himself. He tried to Disney-fy it until the budget went through the roof. And as a result, The Shadow King and seemingly any future projects, including that studio, were canned.
Jeez.
Devastating.
Weird loss, too.
I
It's
know.
also like, if you get Henry Selick, you kind of know that you're going to get something kind of weird and offbeat and not something that
Right?
can be Disney-fied is the thing. Like Nightmare Before Christmas is like the most Disney I think that Henry Selick can get. And that movie is weird and dark. Like, yeah, it's really, yeah, that what a weird thought that they could even do that, you know?
Yeah. It's weird they didn't learn from that either, because when they released Nightmare Before Christmas, you think they would have learned because they tried to push it away from the Disney of it all, and then it makes them $1 bazillion
Right.
in merchandising. So clearly not taking any notes in the other direction, but really devastating that we didn't end up with whatever stop motion projects would have been born of that marriage.
It's always so interesting to see when Disney like sort of picks up a filmmaker or reworks with a filmmaker, and to see them not let them cook with the recipe that made them successful for the
Right.
first time. This is completely in the other camp, but I'm thinking about Chloe Zhao and how she won
Oh,
all those
yes.
Oscars for Nomadland. And then when it came to Eternals, I think it just got chopped up in the edit, and Disney just was
Mhm.
like, any sort of liberties that made you this unique filmmaker does not fly here. And just it all circles back eventually to
Yeah,
to
like,
Disney.
Yeah.
why hire these people if you're gonna like think that you suddenly know better than them and suppress like the reason you hired them in the first place? And it keeps happening over and over again. It like never works. It's so strange.
Just
Yeah.
let them cook, as they say in the Bible.
I believe John said that one.
Yeah, Revelations maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Eternals, Marquis, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but now I must.
Oh,
I was
excited.
listening to a podcast you were on a few years ago. I think Big Boys Brunch.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yes.
Deep cut.
Yeah, and they asked you, I don't remember the exact wording of the question, but they essentially asked you who are 3 celebrity bears you would jump immediately. And you answered Brian Tyree Henry, Don
Good answer.
Lee, and David Harbour. And I must say, you have never been more welcome anywhere than this podcast right here.
I feel like coming home. Wow. I truly
Nailed it.
I feel like my answer for the bears that were my awakening changes pretty often. And so when you were about to like say what my answers were, I truly
like,
had
"Oh,
no
God."
idea. But no, Brian Tyree Henry, Don Lee especially.
Uh-huh.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Truly.
Whew. But yes, we love bears here. Also, shout out to John Goodman as well.
Of
Flintstones,
course.
One of the OGs.
OG, Sean Astin. You know,
Oh,
I
God,
could
you're
go
speaking
on.
every language that I
You just
speak.
hit the Doug jackpot with Sean Astin. Truly.
David Harbour and Sean Astin were on set together. I just want to remind everybody that happened in Stranger Things.
I would have been like, if they were both on set while I was on set, I would have been like at Crafty, like trying to eat, and food would just be like falling out of my mouth as I'm just like wide-eyed staring at them.
Right.
Oh
Right.
my goodness.
Amazing. Thank you for bringing up Chloe Zhao so I could talk about that with you.
Anytime.
Where even were we? Okay, we were talking about the Pixar debacle. Decidedly less sexy. After that debacle, Selick says that he believed that he might never make a film again, which is so depressing to hear from somebody as talented as him. But then get this. He started watching Key and Peele, and he said, I need to make a movie.
I love that so much.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Wendell and Wild is officially based on an unpublished children's book. There's a whole story there with the co-author of that. But the children's book itself was based on a 7-page short story that Selleck originally wrote when his children were very young that involved like proto versions of Wendell and Wild. And he says that when he saw Key and Peele, he was reminded of that story that he wrote, and he was like, I need them to be the voices of Wendell and Wild, which I love so much.
Can I just say this is just because I'm proud of my good taste. I was early on the Key and Peele team because I was on board with them when they were on Mad TV in like 2004. I remember watching Mad TV and I was like, these guys are really funny. Like, these guys are really good. Like, they weren't like a team. Like, they were just two different guys.
On the cast.
Where both of them were sort of like, both you guys are really shining. And they get their own show like years later. And I'm like, oh, good for them. Like, those kids are going to be all right. Like, I was rooting for them. I'm so glad they went. And then,
like,
one of them becomes
those guys, they got moxie. You know, they're going to make it. They're going to make it big.
They got gumption. I believe in them. My God, I'm right. I'm behind them. I'm behind them every step of the way. And then one of them becomes like one of the most like beloved filmmakers in like history. So like, I feel like I hopped on the right train and I was on it early. So I'm always proud of that.
I realized, let's talk about Jordan Peele. I realized that Mad TV would have been where I first saw him. And I don't know why I didn't remember that. He was in like 100 episodes of that show. And I too watched that. So I definitely saw them there first. And then, of course, his sketch show with Keegan-Michael Key, Key and Peele, was extremely popular. It won awards. It saw Key reprising a character named Luther at the 2015 White House Correspondents' Dinner. The show is a big deal. It's a very big deal. Yeah. And then in 2015, Peele announced his production company, Monkey Paw Productions, would produce his directorial debut, the 2017 horror film, Get Out. And I do remember being like, oh, you're doing horror? Because I didn't know about Jordan Peele. I just knew Jordan Peele from Key and Peele, essentially.
Well, and I think people just kind of expected that they would just like be a comedy duo doing comedy movies together.
Sure.
Like comedy actors. Like, I don't know that anyone really expected that this would be the direction either of them would go in, much less like just one of them, you know, like that they would even not be a comedy duo forever.
I think they also did that one movie. Keanu. I don't remember if I saw it. Yeah, Keanu. So I think that was also like their first film, and that was together. And so I think when Get Out was announced, it was like, okay, so what is the natural progression from Keanu? Right. We're going into prestige horror. Let's see what can happen. But yeah, I mean, I remember watching Jordan Peele, Keegan-Michael Key. I mean, I constantly evoke that like sweating gif of Jordan Peele anytime I get.
Yeah, I remember being really surprised by it and probably very ignorantly thinking like, oh, it'll probably be like a comedy horror then, right? Like if you're doing a horror movie. But no, it releases like an incredible movie, one of the best movies of that year, one of the best horror movies, I feel like, for whatever period of time and maybe ever. And then goes on to write and direct 2 more fantastic horror films in Us and Nope in 2019 and 2022.
Yeah.
He also writes and produces, worth mentioning here because I feel like it was criminally underattended and is under-talked about, but writes and produces the 2021 remake of Candyman, directed by Nia DaCosta, which, by the way, made her the first Black woman to finish first at the domestic box office. So
I didn't know that.
Love. Also, that's really surprising.
Yeah. So put that in your trivia pocket. Keep that for movie trivia. But Marquis, you said Jordan Peele is like your bag. So
Jordan Peele, I literally, oh my God, I have like the Get Out like manuscript bound on my bookshelf. Jordan Peele genuinely is so pivotal for me as like a writer, as somebody who now loves horror, because before I grew up like really religious, so my mom did not allow a lot of horror into the house.
Relatable.
The only thing that we could have was Scream, because it's just so camp. It was just so camp that I think my mom was like, you know what? Sure, why not? What the hell? And so when Get Out, hit the scene, I was so curious because I loved, Key and Peele. And when I saw it, I don't think it's dramatic to say it was kind of like an awakening for me as a writer, as, a horror enthusiast. It was just so subversive and it was funny, but it was genuinely terrifying. And just the performances, it was just so pivotal. And I remember seeing it at a free screening in college, and I was one of the only like Black people in the theater. And there was just all these people that they were like gasping and screaming and all these things, rightfully so. But then I was like, laughing at these moments, and I was the only one. And it's just everything. It is terrifying. But no, I love Jordan Peele. When he won the Oscar, I felt emotional. It just felt like such a huge win. And I mean, when it comes to his, main staple horror between Get Out, Us, Nope, I think my favorite might be I might be Us, actually.
There's something so unsettling about that movie, and that
It's
like the more you
yeah.
try to figure it out, the less you kind of can figure it out, which I think makes it really like unnerving in a way.
Yeah.
It's very unnerving, and that ending when she gives her son the look, that
Ugh.
stuck with me. I actually was like looking around like like scared in my own home
Mhm.
after seeing that movie. I loved it so much. And then Nope is, I think it teeters back and forth between people really digging it and me
Mhm.
personally being like, but you didn't watch it right. This needs to be regarded as the best movie of all time. It's so good. I need it on the Mount
Yeah, I
Rushmore
love
of
it.
film. I just love Jordan Peele so much.
Yeah, Nope is so funny to me because I remember going to, that's the only, oh no, I saw Get Out in the theater, but I also saw Nope in the theater, and I remember distinctly being in there, and Nope is like, all of his movies have elements of humor in them, but Nope is like a pretty funny movie in
It
addition
is.
to being a scary movie. And I feel like maybe because of Get Out and Us, people were like afraid to laugh in that movie. But me and my friend were like,
Yeah.
this is funny. Why is no one laughing? Keke Palmer
Yeah.
is in this movie. Why are we not laughing?
Keke motherfucking Palmer.
God.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where Get Out specifically was such a solid horror that had this really great, conversation around race, blackness. And so Jordan Peele proceeded on with his other movies with us regarding him as being
Mhm.
this great cultural commentator about race in film.
Mhm.
And so I think that there is this unfortunate sort of vizier of we can't really just laugh about the topics, and we can't really regard it
Yeah.
as being anything else besides a conversation of race that we need to take seriously. Because I
Right.
think
Mhm.
regarding all the nuance of his films and his commentary, I think we can do all the things. We can laugh, we can be scared.
Mhm.
And so yeah, Nope, I think it's just one of those films where I think we're always going to look back on it and be fascinated at how many layers continue to unravel themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Also, not for nothing, Keke Palmer doing an Akira slide.
Thank you.
Come on.
Dude.
Why were we not all cheering
on.
in that moment? I was so
Yeah.
disappointed in the people I was in the room with.
Needed 15
Yeah.
Oscars just for that. Oh my God.
They needed to the stunt Oscars needed to happen like that year so that she and whoever did the stunt could get all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a sucker. I'm a slut for an Akira slide.
Oh my
Yes.
god. Oh my god.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Like getting overwhelmed as you talk about the Akira slides.
No,
Yeah.
that movie rules. But I think it's sort of indicative of like a lot of Peele's stuff is like unafraid to be a little bit weird and offbeat, not like I'm so quirky and offbeat kind of way, but just in that sort of like, yeah, I can like this movie is tackling like kind of big themes and big ideas, but it's also gonna be like a little silly sometimes and a little just kind of awkward and odd sometimes, and it's gonna have like just really strange, imaginative, evocative images that you've never seen before in any other movie,
my God,
that you will
yes.
never forget. And I think it hits people weird because they don't feel like they quite understand it, but like that's what makes it so fascinating, that it is just such an interesting hodgepodge of like really imaginative ideas. That's just like just a rush of just like feeling, it's he's just such an interesting filmmaker.
He's just a solid quirky guy.
just a silly guy. Selick says Jordan Peele was immediately super into the idea of Wendell and Wild and wanted to help write and produce. But Selick, as a reminder, just approached the two of them to voice the characters, and Peele was like, I want in, like fully in. And Selick credits Peele with the development of the characters and general overall tone of the movie. So the specific balance of horror and comedy and the things we're talking about, Selick very much credits Jordan Peele with that. He also says that Jordan Peele is the one who encouraged Selick to make the protagonist a girl of color. And Selick was like, well, in that case, it kind of only makes sense for Kat to be black. So let's do that. And then that shaped much of the rest of the cast, which ends up turning this movie into the first stop motion movie with a predominantly black cast. Like that, there's
wow,
already
yeah.
not a ton of examples of stop motion films. Because of that, especially, there aren't very many, if any, other movies where
Wow.
almost no characters you see on screen are white.
Actually, never even thought about it like that. Like, wow, Wendell and Wild,
Yeah.
2022 is the first. Yeah, that's a wild one.
He also says that he and Peele were a good balance for each other. I just found this interesting. He said that Peele was a great bridge between Selick and executives. I just feel like that's an important thing to say given what happened at Pixar and the reputation for being prickly. Clearly there's something about Jordan Peele that like very much gets Henry Selick. And I, for that reason, hope that they work together again in some capacity, because it sounds like they're a good match. He has endlessly good things to say about working with Jordan Peele.
It's awesome.
He does talk a little, Selick talks a little bit about Netflix. He said in an interview that Netflix was probably the only place that would have allowed the vision of Wendell and Wild that we got to see actually manifest, which sounds very similar to when we were talking about Nimona. He also says we knew that our film was going to be unusual and we weren't going to pitch it everywhere. Netflix being the number one place we felt would give us the creative support for something unusual, and that would also support stop motion film. And I have to imagine, based on what we know about Nimona, what he's not saying is also a studio that would allow us to make a stop motion film predominantly with people of color involved and an explicitly trans kid in it. He's not saying that, but I feel like based on other things we know that Netflix produces that other studios will not touch, I'm guessing that is also part of it. That is
I'm
speculation.
criminally so sad that I've still not seen Nimona.
Oh,
I mean, if I was anticipating that again, my letterbox watch list.
oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
yeah. It's really good. It's really good. And there's a whole podcast episode of folks talking about it. If you need to think about it after the fact, imagine
Oh
that.
my God, not sponsored, not sponsored at all.
I mentioned that I listened to your appearance on Big Boy Brunch, and when I was reading Selick's comments about getting this movie made and trying to figure out where it could get made, I thought of something that you said.
This was so long ago, I don't remember what I said. I'm excited to see.
One of the hosts asked you about writing advice, and I'm summarizing, but you said you can't pull any punches. Right now, there is no room for playing it safe. The stories that are selling are stories that are pushing the envelope. And in some regards, that doesn't feel like you said that very long ago, but in other regards, it feels like you said that a lifetime ago.
Yes.
And I'm just very curious to get your thoughts on that, given that this movie is like 2.5 years old from 2022, and now we're in 2025. And at least for me, someone like not involved in any of the industry, it feels like the room is getting a lot smaller.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just also that's a good quote, Marquis. I like that. I think I did good. But yeah, I think it's still love that sentiment. I don't think you can pull punches, but there is so much just we need to appease the algorithm. We need to make sure we can sell internationally, and there's so much rhetoric around, black voices and this myth that, these stories don't sell, overseas in different markets internationally. There's so many just things curbing production, and right now, I mean, just Hollywood is in a quirky space when it comes to any production, getting anything made. So I still do think that you have to sort of rely on you not pulling punches so that you can find the people who can advocate for you to get into the spaces that you can make these things you want to make. And I think in a lot of ways, just being really guerrilla about it is just the best thing we can
I love
do.
that.
I think my theory honestly has been that the web series is going to make a big resurgence, because I think, in the sort of 2010s, it was a really big way for so many people to pop up on the screen. Think of, Issa Rae and Quinta Brunson and Brian Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my God,
this is
yes.
such
So
a huge
true.
thing. And then I think it sort of got really oversaturated with just, everybody trying to make a thing. And then I think, that sort of stopped being the gateway. YouTube stopped being that place where people really got discovered. But I think right now we're going through such a weird time in the industry that I think being super guerrilla, just putting out content, again, not pulling punches, but also being very self-starter about it is just what we have to do. And so, yeah, the industry's in a very quirky place right now, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Just gotta persevere. But it's rough, and it's just been interesting time in Hollywood. we'll say that.
Yeah, it's funny. Peek behind the curtain. I totally told Marquis, I was like, it's not like an interview. Don't worry. It's very casual conversation. And then I listened to that and I was like, I have to ask him about that. So thank you for entertaining that
love it
question. But I'm so curious.
Yeah, I love it because I truly don't remember anything I said past 2 seconds ago. So this has been great. And yeah, I mean, old me was like a little bit twinkier. I don't know who that is. That feels like a different person. So this is great.
Yeah.
It struck me because, you know, in doing we're doing 5 episodes of this mini series, and this is the 4th one, and so far 3 of the 4 things we've covered came out in those early 2020s. And it is, you cannot ignore the fact that a lot of stuff happened at the beginning of those 2020s, and a lot of them seem to be going away.
Absolutely.
And so I like the way you're thinking about it, as far as like, don't rely on these places that made promises to keep them. Just keep the promise yourself and like do the guerrilla thing. I like that a lot, and I think that's really encouraging.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have so many filmmaker friends, even people that I've talked to who are, you know, in 2020 being like, we want to get your thing made, specifically reaching out to Black creators. And those promises, those things have just fallen flat, have not been fulfilled, have not had any sort of follow-up. So yeah, I think I went into 2025 personally being like, this is just a year to create.
Hell yeah.
I want to create more than I consume is how I'm trying to sort of put it in my mind. And so
Ooh, that's good.
yeah, that's just where we're at right now.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing to think about. I in 2025 tried largely as a result of doing this podcast and thinking a lot about, you know, we covered all of Pixar, and Pixar is great and artistic and all this sort of stuff, but they are a very large corporate studio, right? And so I wanted in 2025 to find more independent animation, and I do think I'm seeing what you're seeing is just people basically saying, fuck it, I'm just going to make the animation and put it out there. And it ends up being very cool because their only limitations are themselves.
I mean, have you two talked about flow yet?
No, we haven't, but I mean, I feel like we have to at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so inspiring. I mean, Latvia is not necessarily Hollywood, but it's
right?
so they're quite different a little bit, but it's so cool. I mean, these filmmakers just using Blender and making an Academy Award-winning film that wins over The Wild Robot. You know, filmmaking is just so fucking badass. Like that, seeing things like that is just so inspiring. Even just looking at Sean Baker, like looking at Tangerine and seeing he shot that on an iPhone, and now he's won the most Oscars that any person has ever won in a single night. You know, just seeing just all these instances of just you know, taking shit into your own hands is just, I think that's where we're at and what we need to do.
It feels very punk rock, you know, as long as we're talking about Wendell Wild. It feels very punk rock to have a movie made in Blender be the 3rd movie in a row to not be a Disney or Pixar movie to win that award. So I like the direction we're going in, even though I am a Pixar stan, maybe reformed soon here.
Hey, you know, I won't knock it. I mean, 2 things can be true. Pixar has inspired so many, and like Pixar is formative for me, so many things.
Totally.
And so yeah.
I'll never fully recover. Let's be totally real. There's a new movie coming out later, and we will definitely talk about it. Speaking of punk rock, though, the music in this movie fucking rips so hard.
So good.
So I just want to call out the people responsible. The score itself is by Bruno Kulai. The music supervisor was Rob Lowry. And I regret not mentioning the music supervisor for Nimona, Keir Lehman, because that also fucking ripped. And I need to learn more about the music supervisor position and everything that goes into it, because watching Nimona and watching this and getting the needle drops and just like the way they change how things are happening in the movie is like so cool. We're not used to that because we're used to purely just scoring and then maybe like a Randy Newman or Sarah McLachlan song thrown in there. You know what I mean? Amazing work, but this is a very different kind of musical direction. So just wanted to shout those out. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on the music.
It fucks.
I mean, I think a common denominator with Jordan Peele is that the music is going to be its own character, and sound in general in movies is so important. I think three movies are made when you go about making a production. Like there is the writing, there's the actual production, and there's the editing. And then it all comes together when sound happens. And so, yeah, I mean, Jordan Peele, I always think of like the I've Got Five on It remix and how that just like changed the game. But no, the music in this movie just rips. And just seeing Kat, that first sort of turn that she takes when she's walking down the hallway, has that
Oh,
boom box on her shoulder.
yes.
And it's just like, oh, she's fucking badass. Just everything about it.
Yeah.
It's just really, really good. Really good.
Yeah.
My ears were pleased.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about Kat. One thing I find interesting about Kat right off the bat is that this movie kind of starts in a way that you're sort of like, oh wow, they're doing this because she's an orphan, her parents die or whatever, but
Dies very quickly.
very, very quickly. But one thing I think is really interesting about this is that, like, in a Disney movie, they die and then the kid's alone and then they have some other parental figure there. Kat, that is not the case necessarily. She, like, feels responsible for her parents' death, which is, like, so dark, and then ends up passed from not even parent to parent, but, like, system to system, which I think makes her a really, really interesting and compelling protagonist that we don't see a ton of in movies like this.
Absolutely. To see a young Black protagonist who gives us an insight into both the exploitation of the foster care system and the prison industrial complex is so
Right?
metal. Or
Yeah.
like sort of like a young animated movie. Like it's so cool. It's so dope. And yeah, she's immediately thrust into all of this. I remember watching this movie for the first time and just being like, oh, okay. Well, I'm sad and crying, and the credits have not even started yet.
Yeah, the scene itself is, like, devastating.
Delroy, honey, pull over. I don't like this.
We'll be fine, Wilma. Look, almost home. What, baby?
Watch out! Delroy!
Daddy!
Cat, you need to swim? Let me talk.
No! Mama, aren't you coming?
Right behind you, baby.
Mama, I'm scared.
Now listen to me, baby. You need to take a deep breath. Now go!
One screen, and my parents were gone.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie's obviously, understandably, pretty like unafraid to address death and show death, because it's all about death. So but it is still really striking. Like this is definitely a movie that, because I think it's technically PG-13, right? So like I think they were. I think that young kids could watch this. I don't think it's scary necessarily or anything, but I don't think they were making it with sort of like, well, we have to make sure that little kids can, totally follow it or not be scared of it or whatever, which meant that they can sort of aim it towards an older audience, which means they could kind of tackle these more complex subjects like death and the prison industrial complex, but still be a movie that like is like so cool looking, and as it is so like beautiful to look at, that I think little kids would still enjoy it, even if they aren't necessarily following some of the heavier themes until they're a little older,
Absolutely. And I feel like it's always really reassuring when it comes to animation when they dive into more adult topics or they cuss or they, show death and grief. And again, the prison industrial complex, because it's always the most disheartening or annoying thing when people equate animation just being like, this is for kids. This is an art for young people. It's not that, but animation is, it's film. Like it's just as important and able to convey messages as any live action film. So seeing this movie tackle so many large topics was very reassuring, and just, I mean, it's Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele again does not pull any punches.
Right. It's so funny because Henry Selick is like, well, we weren't trying to make a movie that like said something about this or this, and I was like, bullshit. Like, come on, buddy.
Didn't he say his wife was like
Yes.
was a big proponent for like
Yeah, she was
like,
an advocate for
Yeah.
like kids who would basically be in Kat's position for like a decade or something. So he didn't directly necessarily work with kids like Kat, but his wife did, and I'm sure she brought a lot of that home with her. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's hard not to care a lot about that when when you're so close to it. She ends up in this school, the Rust Bank Catholic School for Girls, as part of something called the Break the Cycle program.
Even from the name alone, you could tell like, oh, this is about to be some bullshit. you can tell from just nonprofits, like the name will tell you everything. For sure.
Yeah, it's I don't remember necessarily my reactions from when I first watched this. This is a hard thing to like forget the trajectory of, but I do feel like it's the kind of thing that you see immediately and you're like, meh, I don't know about that one. This doesn't seem legit. And what's weird about the school is no one at the school seemingly, I'm pretty sure this is true, no one at the school is from Rust Bank.
Except for Raul.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about this movie that I think was smart, honestly, from like a budgetary reason, as much as it is like as much from a story reason, is like because it's like a ghost town that was like ruined by this corporation. There's like just literally not many people around,
True.
Which means even the school is only has like 6 students or whatever in it, which I'm sure was helpful for them as animators because that means they don't have to populate all the rooms and everything. But it also like means that there's sort of this weird aura of like, just everything is a little bit like too empty. And it doesn't feel like there's a real community here because there literally isn't, because people were either driven out or, you know, killed in a fire. So I don't know. It's just, but it is sort of interesting because most of the kids at the school are like coming for some other reason. It seems like,
Well, I think they're probably sold a lie of what the school is and then just end up there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting also because we have that sort of trio of girls.
Oh my gosh.
What sort of girls go here?
Prize poodles. All best in show.
Pinch,
Bunch.
first of the month.
Now you say
A slap and a kick for being so quick.
What?
too slow.
No returns.
We are Siobhan,
Sweetie.
Sloan, and this is Gabby Goat. Welcome to
RBC Girls.
Don't be shy, Catherine Kiniqua Elliott.
It's Cat.
We've noodled up another idea.
It's the cutest.
KK.
Ugh, no thanks.
New name, new beginning. It's your do-over, KK, and we're going to help you heal.
You're sort of like built to
Yeah.
sort of perceive them as like this mean girl trio clique that all comes from just a life that makes them out of touch. And the blonde one is Siobhan, but also they're all in the same place. They're all in a situation where it's like, oh no, you are in a way like disenfranchised or being exploited. This movie it's so different from what I'm used to when it comes to seeing like certain archetypes, and then you realize like, oh wait, we're all in this like very awful industrial complex.
They are Mean Girls. They are like nice. Like, I mean, like they'll make people feel bad, but like not intentionally, you know, like they're not bullying anyone, which I think is an interesting choice.
There's no malice. You always sort of expect them to have malice at some point, but it never actually even arises. And I think that was also something that was interesting. Maybe I don't want to jump ahead to Raul.
Thank God you saved her.
I didn't. She got lucky.
We used to be friends.
You like that prize poodle?
Yeah,
Why were you up that tower?
it's an art project. For when the snow melts. I'm Raul.
I don't do friends, Raul. Bad things happen to people I'm close to.
Like what?
They die.
So, what do we believe just happened? Sweetie?
KK is a sorceress.
No, she's clearly telekinetic. Her mind can move matter.
Well, I would posit that KK is an interrupter. A disturber of the status quo.
Oh, come on, Siobhan. Leave her alone.
It's none of your business. I'm sorry, Raul. I keep forgetting.
There's like some misgendering that happens, like when it comes to Raul, and even with like that clique of girls, they teeter on kind of teasing, but then they accidentally, misgender Raul, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, we didn't mean to do that." And so, yeah, it was interesting to see that sort of group never really be antagonistic. They're more just
Yeah.
kids. They're kids who, do have empathy. They just are out of touch in their own little ways.
So I like talked about that trio and said like the initial like conceit for them was to be mean girls, but he kept thinking about like Clueless, and he was like, but we like them. Like why do we like them when they're sort of supposed to be mean girls? And I think he kind of landed on like, well, they give mean girls vibes, but like they're more ignorant than anything. So if they're hurting your feelings, it's because they haven't quite gotten it yet, which doesn't mean they're not hurting your feelings, but it means that they are still open to growth.
Yeah.
I love knowing that is like a Clueless type of framing for those girls. That immediately makes my gay heart so happy.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think it's smart narratively too, because there's a lot in this movie, like a lot, like 17,000 plots and characters in this movie.
There's a lot going on in this movie.
Yes.
And yeah, I maybe have more to say about that, but like Shaban as a character does have to have a pretty significant character arc, but there's not really a lot of time you can really give to her turning against her parents. So if they started her too mean, I think it will be really hard to believably have her turn at the end. So by making it clear that she's like nice, just maybe a little bit oblivious and naive and misunderstanding things, it makes it way easier to buy that she would fully turn against her parents at the end of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Also, is that Millie Bobby Brown's voice?
No, it is
Tamara Smart.
Okay, because I'm trying to get better at not pulling out IMDb at every single second that I watch a movie, because I'm always like researching just constantly like who it is, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay in my gut that's Millie Bobby Brown, but now we know.
I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised. She is Netflixed up for sure.
Netflix's darling, absolutely. So I just assumed.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would have made sense. I think one thing that's kind of cool about that trio too, even though they're not where they need to be, even though they're hurting people's feelings, is when Kat gets there, they are excited about her, and I think there is an element about it that is like, could be read and probably is read as like, this is something new and different and exciting, which is like a little bit exoticizing, but also I think Kat represents something that doesn't exist in that school that school very much needs. So like, even though Kat doesn't want to connect with other people, everybody who kind of sees Kat, I think sees something, especially in this like Catholic setting, that all of them can kind of learn or benefit from. And I think that's cool, especially because Kat, like, she wants to be seen, but she is not trying to be friends.
Yeah, absolutely not trying to be friends whatsoever. Yeah, I think it's the girls. Again, I kept on expecting them to sort of take Kat's counterculture and reject it, but there was never that. It was sort of taking that and acknowledging it and like slowly becoming sort of like hooked on that being what we need to sort of feel, any sort of liberation in the school system.
Yeah. I think it would have required something that wouldn't be maybe very Cat-like, so I don't know if this would have felt weird, but I kind of almost wish that there was a moment where they embraced the counterculture a little bit more in some way that we got to observe. But it is more of it's not a very bombastic movie necessarily for like character journeys.
This movie, I think when it comes to just animation, and also even stop motion, I think we expect flashy. Like, I think we expect a lot of sort of like flashy moments where there's like a lot of sort of action or just like physical sort of expression or just like really, playing around with what we can do when we can bend reality basically any way we want. But this movie is interesting because it doesn't really, it's not the most showy, flashy thing whatsoever. Both in its plot, I think that it keeps itself very anchored into like realistic problems and solutions. And I think when it comes to just like even the resolution towards the end and that whole sort of like last half of the movie, it doesn't go in the most flashy route. I think it actually is pretty grounded for an animated movie, for stop motion movie. It's really interesting. I think that the movie maybe prioritizes a lot more of the topics that it's trying to cover rather than letting things get lost in like, oh, we can do this amazing, grandiose,
Yeah.
sort of, I guess, Coraline-esque like extravaganza. So yeah, it's very interesting.
It's funny because like I agree with you. Like this movie is in a lot of ways like really understated and grounded, but at the same time, this also is a movie where it's like a giant demon man with like an amusement park on his belly like bursts out of the ground.
Yes.
So it's like it is flashy in some ways, but it's like it it kind of like chooses. It's an interesting dichotomy in this movie of like the most ridiculous weird stuff with the demon side and very very grounded realistic things on the human side in a really fascinating way.
But I think you're onto something, Marquis, in pointing out that a lot of the solutions are really grounded, because it's almost like you end up with a movie that starts very very real in Kat's circumstances, gets extremely fantastical along the way, and then ends in like extremely like grounded real solutions that like you could actually kind of take into the real world despite having just seen zombies like driving bulldozers, like it's like
it feels kind of like we get like the sort of extravagant, sort of like in that middle part, but then it almost becomes more medicinal. We talk about Kat reclaiming sort of her trauma and these memories, and we talk about how we're gonna tackle this prison that wants to be built in this town. And it is really interesting. It feels like sort of like a roadmap for sort of young viewers. And I think I remember when I first watched it, or when I watched it again, yesterday, I had just forgotten so much of what happened visually, because again, it's not that flashy of a movie. There's not like many specific visuals that stick with me, but it looks so cool. And again, it just felt like so grounded in a way that I think it worked for this movie for sure.
Even like the demon stuff, ultimately the solution is just sort of like a dad looks at a piece of art and it moves him, and then he realizes he loves his children. Like there's not like
literally,
like that's literally what happens.
It's like we can do that. We can do that IRL actually.
I think this brings us in two directions we could go. We certainly have to talk about Wendell and Wild, and we certainly have to talk about Raoul. Who are we chomping at the bit to talk about first?
Let's talk about Raoul.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Raoul.
That's the reason we're here, really.
Absolutely.
Raoul is the reason we're here. Raoul is an unambiguously trans boy in this all-girls school. They do a good job making it clear and unambiguous, but this is not entirely Raoul's story, but there is a story there. And I think the first time I watched it, I didn't necessarily feel like Raoul's story was front enough or fleshed out enough. Yeah, exactly. But the second time watching it, I feel like I saw more of what Raoul was, because Raoul is this student who's already been at the school. Raoul is a trans boy who talks about having tried to fit in with the girls and realizing that wasn't him, and who is the son of this lawyer who's trying so hard to get justice against these horrible crooks, and who is doing his own part in trying to use art as activism. And there's so much there that's already happening by the time this movie starts. And I think there's something very cool about that character who's kind of on a journey already, being Kat's number one sort of ally and support in this movie, and getting her stuff done while also still ultimately accomplishing what he's trying to do. There is a lot more there than I realized there was, even if it's kind of unconventional in how it's structured.
Understated. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to trans sort of, depiction in media, I think there's a lot of beauty in sort of seeing trans life in the middle, because I think we often see stories where it's about the hero or the tragedy. Like we will see, somebody who is either entering their transness and starting their journey, or maybe there is some sort of tragedy that befalls them. And I think it's really sort of cathartic to see, like, no, Raoul's living his life. He is in the middle, like he has already gone through these conversations, and he has people who are advocates for him. Like even these three, girls, like they are on Raoul's side. We see that the mom is already like an advocate for her son. And we see just all these things, and that he is not starting that journey, but he's already sort of as comfortable as he can be in the middle, and we can see him have his focus be art as activism and not his whole storyline is just him being trans. And I think it's really beautiful to sort of see him in this complex space. And I think, especially for kids as well who watch this movie, I think it would be really cool to see this kid who is already in the middle of his life as a trans man.
Mhm.
You know, it's really cool for us to sort of have these depictions of people who are in their lives and they are comfortable as they can be, and that it doesn't have to be the hero or the tragedy. It could be a nuanced middle.
I am
Yeah,
so
I
glad
love
you
that.
framed it that way. Because Marquis, I don't know if you grew up watching Power Rangers.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So
Yes.
I don't know if you
Yellow Ranger is probably why I'm obsessed with the color
Yes.
yellow.
Yes. I don't know if you are aware that Power Rangers told one of the best gay romance stories in children's media like just a few years ago. But one thing we talked about in the episode where we were talking about that story was that not every story can or should be a coming out story, and that sometimes it is beneficial
Yes.
for a character to be at a point along their journey so that you don't have to constantly set that up, and that not every
Right.
single story is about setting that up. There are certain stories you can't tell if every story is at the beginning. And so I'm really glad you framed it that way, because I think that makes a lot of sense to me in that particular sort of framing.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that there is a lot of power in just like having forcing the audience to be like, we have already accepted this character, and this character has already accepted himself. So if you're not about it, you can go away
Mhm.
because they're already on this journey.
Right.
We're not gonna see this huge sort of storyline dedicated to them coming out, because that's not the epitome of trans storytelling. Like there's so much we can do, and that applies to any sort of coming out as well, or just like any sort of, making a hero or tragedy out of somebody who is marginalized. And so yeah, I thought it was a very smart way to go about this supporting character.
Yeah, like the story isn't about his transness, but his transness is very important to his story. Like it's another
Exactly.
factor in it. And like his role in the story makes a lot of sense because like his experience like has left him feeling like alienated from his previous friend group, which is how he ends up sort of connecting with Kat in a way, right? So like it perfectly puts him in a role to be in that role to be a friend to Kat in the movie. So it's like still instrumental to how he's involved with the larger plot of the movie, but he also has other stuff going on, like the art project, like you said, and the fact that his mother is like so instrumental to like the town council storyline, which is a huge part of the movie too. And his art project ends up being what like again completely solves the demon plot that's like the major subplot of the movie. So like he's kind of like and so much stuff. He raises Kat's parents from the dead. Like he's so like important to every
does a lot.
element of the movie, which
Does
is
so much.
Yeah, which is so funny because he's just kind of like a quiet kid who's just sort of hanging out in the background most of the time. Like he's not a very flashy in your face character, but yet he is like constantly doing things and kind of like responsible for moving the plot along very significantly at many, 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 many different points. Like you could not pull him out of if you pull him out of this movie, the whole thing kind of falls apart in most ways.
The fact that the art piece is literally so pivotal for like solving the crux of the film. It was so amazing and unexpected. And so yeah, Raul, it's not really in your face, but Raul is pivotal to this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I appreciate though is that even though it's not in your face, they still recognize the importance of this particular character and this particular story, making sure that it was clear, right? So much of what we're talking about with these 5 movies and one TV show, I guess 4 movies and one TV show, is like the clarity of it. The fact that you can't just put this somewhere else and have them erase it, right? I think you would have to cut out specific parts of the movie to change Raul to not be a trans character. You couldn't just change dialogue. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. I think it's notable. I don't think there's a ton to say here, but I do think it's notable that the only time anybody arguably, gives Raul guff about being trans, because it's not even what it is. At one point, Siobhan uses the wrong name for Raul, corrects herself very quickly, every other character we meet, I think, including staff, including the demons, including like everyone.
They
like
immediately
appropriately
gender him
genders
correctly,
Raoul.
yeah.
It's so
great.
cool. I mean, it's such a baseline thing, right? But like not baseline for so many people.
I mean, at this point, like the bare minimum when it comes to just respecting trans identity, like these things in this movie are huge because this is such a basic respect that we just don't see from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really don't in so many instances. Like just like the Congresswoman, forgetting her name, but I don't know if you saw the video of her being on the floor.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And just being violently misgendered because it's just like just not calling her madam, using sir in a very violent way, and it's just these things are so base level of like you don't even have to. Ideally, you fucking like respect and support and embrace trans life, but it's like even if you don't, just using basic.
Yeah.
Like your pronouns, anything.
People tell you their names and you use them. You know?
Yeah, just do it. It's so simple. So this movie, I loved it how it was just it showed us how simple it is. And I think again, that's just the beauty of showing this trans life in the middle when we're past like the, all the stumbles and all that we have to like take time with these other characters, accepting this character. We get to see this character, Raoul, already having people, embrace him on his side. I think there was like even another moment where there was sort of like misgendering off screen.
Oh, was it the phone call?
That was really well done. It was a phone call.
Really, Raoul? Your art project now?
It's the final part of the mural, Mommy.
Hi, Erwin. ¿Qué pasa? What do you mean, alleviate the situation? But I am your top earning paralegal. My success rate is higher than anyone on staff. But you know that I'm fighting to keep my house, right? What am I supposed to do now? I have a son to feed. No, a son, remember?
And I thought that was so well done of just like, we don't have to even hear sort of this violently misgendered or like this misgendering at all at a base level. But we see this sort of like quiet advocate. We see the mom just being like, no, that is my son. There's just these beautiful moments where Raoul's transness, is briefly, misgendered or, violated, but it's handled so well in this movie. Of just showing just like that basic sort of kindness and missteps rectified by just having empathy and respect.
Yeah.
And so it's gorgeous to see. It's gorgeous to see in this movie.
I obviously I appreciated the moment on the phone call, but I didn't think of it in the way that you just presented it, which was filmmakers basically figuring out a way to represent misgendering a character without actually depicting the violence on screen of misgendering a character. You only really see the person correcting and advocating for the character, which is like a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Not the advocating part, the depicting without the actual violent act part, I mean.
I like that. I have seen a little bit of pushback where it's like, what did you really have to include a trans character and then like immediately like dead name him on screen?
Sure.
But I think the counter to, because like that is the counter to that, because like you see the mom, the misgendering is off screen, but like with the dead naming, that is like right on screen. But I think the counter to that has been like, but it's kind of showing like if you dead name someone by accident, this is sort of how it should go, which is
if you slip up, there is a way out of that.
Right. They correct you. You say, I'm so sorry, I won't do that again. And then Shaban never does it ever again.
Never does it again.
Right.
So you are kind of still showing like a good scenario for that,
Yeah, that's always tough. I mean, we talked about that with Tokyo Godfathers about like what type of language people use for Hana and like how much of it do you put in a movie.
Right.
One more example of a way to not have that sort of, violence on screen or in the audio. I don't know if you watched the Queer as Folk reboot that came out a couple years ago.
No.
Okay, like I thought it was good. I could go into some reasons why it was not good. But
no, it's
one
good
thing
to
that they
hear
did
because
really
I feel
well,
like most people aren't advocating for it. So it's nice to know there is one.
I thought it was good. I don't think it was Queer as Folk at all. I think it's okay to have a show be not a reboot or a sequel, but I digress. There is a prominent trans character in the lead, and they do like a flashback episode where they're exploring this character's relationship to the other lead, like they were best friends. And so this character, this is before they transitioned, whenever they would refer to the character pre-transition by their dead name, they would bleep it out.
Ooh,
Interesting.
They would fully like bleep it out. And then there comes like they fast forward to the present, and the two people, this trans character and her best friend are in this argument, and the character in like a heat of rage says this dead name to the character and they like bleep it out, and it's just so devastating and you still feel it. And
yeah,
just that was just another way that was really interesting to sort of,
Yeah.
as we're hopefully embracing trans representation in media and in film. I'm excited to see more ways that we don't ever have to talk about, dead naming or all these things. But if we are going to depict these things, what are ways that we can do it that don't exoticize doing it or don't really harp on it in a way that is not actually helpful to the advancement of the film or these characters.
Yeah. I think that's fun to think about ways that you could pull that off. I've seen comic artists do it a lot in ways that are a little bit easier visually, I think, when you've got literal word bubbles that you can play with.
Yes.
But yeah, that's cool to think about different ways you can do that. Now I kind of want to like look a little bit at that Queer as Folk stuff, see how they pull that off.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah. This is a little bit different, but just sort of like along the same lines of how they sort of like, just present his transness and how people are interacting with him in the world. Like, I also like the bit when, he's trying to sort of basically give a little bit of his backstory to Kat.
Time to say goodbye, KK. Fine. Goodbye. Oh. You're coming with me. What for? Need a witness, and you're it. Why do those poodles keep bothering me?
They want you to be like them.
Wow. You were a poodle too.
I tried to be, but
You're not nearly as annoying.
Siobhan's okay, considering her parents.
Her parents.
The Claxons. Clax Corp.
She's a Claxon?
There's no reaction from Kat that's sort of like, whoa, you're trans. The reaction is, whoa, you were friends with them? Like, that's where it stops.
Yes. Kat's a real one. Kat is such a real one for that.
Yeah. This isn't like related to a whole lot, but it's like, I think it's a thing a lot of people will be able to appreciate. One note that Selleck said that he got about Kat specifically on the topic of her being a real one was somebody literally asked him like, could she maybe like smile a little earlier in the film? And I was like, of course somebody asked that. Of course somebody asked that.
What are you talking about? What would she have to smile about?
Let's critically think about why she's not smiling. Let's play the very first scene of the film back.
If she smiled at anywhere early in this movie, then she would look like a psychopath.
Yeah,
like that
truly.
would like that. Jeez.
Yeah. I do think it's worth mentioning though that the first time she does smile is in reaction to Raoul trying to make her laugh, which is very, very sweet. To see that be sort of the connection between the two. But like, of course, executives, come on.
It's a great relationship.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Also, I just again, it's just exciting to see trans storylines more prominently in animation specifically.
Yeah.
And it's wild whenever anybody is like, that's not a trans storyline. Because not in this film because it's so explicit, but it reminds me of the second Spider-Verse film.
Oh,
when people were like, Gwen Stacy, what? She's not trans. And there's literally like a
trans flag,
trans kids sign in her room, and then she's bathed in the trans flag color.
Literally, her whole world is like paint strokes of the trans flag colors. Yeah.
That's just wild.
But I mean, unfortunately, that's like exactly why, because people are so good at like jumping through hoops to deny any of these stories from existing.
Yeah.
So it's so frustrating, but yeah, I'm so Spider-Verse, one of our favorites.
Oh my goodness. I'm already sat for the next film. I'm already in the theater waiting. They're telling me to leave, but I will be there until 2027.
Oh yeah.
And look, if they delay it again for another couple of years, it's fine. It's fine. I'll still be here waiting. It's all right.
It's fine. It's
okay.
fine. I will have, kids, maybe a wife. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
I'll be there. I'll be there and ready.
Doug, do you know anything about the actor who voices Raoul? Because it doesn't look like he's this. It looks like this is kind of the biggest thing that he's done so far.
This
right?
is pretty much it as far as like professional acting credits. I think there might be like one other short film that he's done. He talks a little bit about this, not necessarily in that context, but you can kind of see it. He explicitly says in interviews like it's very hard being a trans actor and finding roles. And he said specifically, it was the first casting call looking for a trans Latin American guy that I'd ever seen. I'm used to both of those identities holding me back in the film industry, but they were looking for this in this film. It was a story they wanted to tell. So, I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it must be for him to find parts, because he talks a lot about not only each one of those individual identities making it difficult for him to find roles, but both of them together, because so many stories that would want to tell those stories are like, well, no, we're kind of just interested in the trans story. Or we're kind of just interested in the Latin American kid story. So yeah, he has not done a whole lot, which is a bummer because he does a great job here. He's British, so
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Versatility.
Yeah, only point out because like clearly talented. I didn't know. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, Sam Zalea is his name, if we didn't say it already. Yeah, that blew my mind when found out he was British.
Yeah, and I believe because of when this was made, I think he did the whole thing remotely. I think all the voice acting for him specifically was done remotely with Henry Selick, which is, I mean,
that makes sense.
Incredible.
This was produced like at the height of pandemic stuff,
COVID,
right? So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's really talented, and I hope that he finds more opportunities. Because I really appreciate his work in this one. Shall we talk about the demon world and the demons?
I would love to. And wait, Wendell is Jordan Peele, right?
I think it's reversed. I think Wendell is Key, and I think Wilde is Peele.
I think they're Key and Peele, and that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. Okay, so Jordan Jonathan Peele. I don't know his middle name, but I just want it to be known that when he is in his demon form, towards the beginning of the movie, shirtless, that's a hot demon.
Okay,
that is a bear in cinema. That is an animated bear canon event.
Yes.
Seriously.
So hot.
Like, it's so funny because like they're clearly their faces are so modeled after like what they look like in real life.
Oh yes, it's so cool.
Yeah, but then like the bodies they give them, you know, like obviously like they're a little exaggerated and everything, but his body, I'm like, what wish did you grant? Like,
yeah, I know. I know the name of the character designer, and I'm like rapidly trying to find out if this is a gay man or not, because like it's not even just Wilde, like Wilde and
Buffalo Belzer
in his like strappy little fit.
Yes,
I would happily live anywhere on his body. That's all I will say.
Yes, let me rest on that stomach. That's my dream fare.
Right,
he was my dream fare. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh!
I hope that some young queer bears got an awakening for watching this.
Come on,
because what a perfect like bear awakening for Buffalo Belzer, voiced by Ving Rhames, to be for you. It is like aviator sunglasses and his fucking leather harness outfit.
It was so good.
His little underwear. Yeah. Oh my god! Truly, never wears any clothes. He's just in the Speedo the whole time.
Yep.
Leather.
Yeah, I was
just perfect.
I was trying to like think of like all my critical plot points to have this conversation with y'all,
and
I was like, I'm having such trouble getting past how hot these characters look.
Thinking about
I'm a bear of simple pleasure, you know.
Truly, when you got the eye candy, like that's all you need, right?
And cartoon characters with nipples. I know that they're like stop motion, and so these are like fully like anatomical modeled characters, but that's two shirtless big boys with nipples.
And if you consider they are making these things with their hands, someone is shaping those bodies and those nipples. Someone is making sure
a good old time.
Those bellies are jiggling when when Belzer like jumps back into his hole and you see that belly like
are there jiggle physics?
Oh yeah.
They know like and jiggle physics in stop motion, man. You have to pay so close attention.
There are several bodies probably, unless it's like specifically built to like to be flexible like that.
Best
my
movie ever
God,
made,
That's
maybe?
actually amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, the character designs overall are amazing, but yes, Wild and Buffalo Buffalo Pelzer. Whoo!
I just had to get that out there.
No, they
It
did
was
it.
on my
I've been
mind.
waiting this whole time for that topic to come up.
Right. Look, also, I mean, Wild in demon form, yes, but also Wild in like sartorial sort of like
Yes.
real world form, like cleaned up, not bad.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated the twink, not for me.
Yeah.
But Wendell
Cleaned up real nice too.
cleaned up nice. He would do great in WeHo.
Mhm.
You'd do fantastic
Right.
over there.
Oh, goodness.
These characters are so fascinating. They're like brothers
Love 'em.
and children of Buffalo Belzer, who's like the ruler of the underworld, which is an amusement park built on his jiggle physics belly.
The Freudian
Ooh.
slip.
And what's funny is this movie is named after them, which makes me feel like at some point in this story they were probably more the protagonists.
More
Like the balance
Yeah.
was probably different.
I had read that the protagonist kind of shifted a little bit. Like Wendell and Wild were more at the center before.
And I can see that movie. Like it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think I heard on a podcast that was like that said like at a certain point like Helly was like the protagonist at a certain point
fascinating.
before it was sort of like no, like make the teenage girl the protagonist, like that's more interesting. But I think you could sort of see shades of that because there's like many subplots in this movie that could sort of be their own spin-off story, you know. And I think Wendell and Wild, I think it's interesting because where they end up landing is kind of in like nice Beetlejuice position where like Beetlejuice is the title character of that movie, but he's not the protagonist of the movie, right? Plenty of other stuff going on.
It's a good
you
place
know?
to be. It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're stuck in the underworld, nourishing Belzer's hair plugs, and they want to escape the underworld to create their own amusement park, which also looks rad, by the way. I would go there.
It looks dope. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the way that they intersect with Kat, who is our protagonist, is that she is their Hell Maiden, which means that they have a direct line of communication with her, it seems like. And so they use her as a tool to come into the real world. There is a lot going on in this movie.
Lore. There's a lot of lore.
There's a lot of lore in this movie. I was interested. Like the whole Hell Maiden sort of plot around it.
There's so much
I wanted to
there.
know more.
Right.
And Helly, if
Dude.
they ever want to do a little spin-off about Helly's first formative years as a Hell Maiden,
I
I'd be
think
here for it.
And we can let Angela Bassett still voice her. That's fine by me.
It's Angela Bassett. Anything she wants to do, let that woman do it. She is amazing.
I think like when I first watched this movie, I remember when I first finished it, my initial takeaway was I never say this, but I'm like, I wish this movie was a TV show instead of a movie. I never say that because we have a lot of like 8-episode shows that are like, this should have just been a movie. You padded it out. But this is the reverse because there's so much happening here and so many characters that could carry their own episode, like the flashback episode of Helly and what's his name? The janitor guy, like their flashback, you know?
There's so much there.
Right.
Like, there's so much history there that's like, do we need to just have like a little side movie? Something?
I know.
Like,
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's like if I don't want to frame this as a criticism of the movie because it's more just there's so much stuff here that I'm interested in. I wish there was more, but like there is so much happening in the movie that it almost feels like it ends up feeling a little bit convoluted because you're just moving from plot to plot to plot to plot, exposition to exposition to exposition. Every 10 minutes, you're introduced as like an entirely new set of lore from new characters that have this long backstory, and I think it's really cool because it means the world is filled out. And and it's all good, like clearly, because I want to see more of it. But it does mean that I feel like your head is kind of spinning a little bit throughout this movie, especially for the first half of it for a while.
Like I love the movie. It's good to have I think in this instance it's good to have more rather than like less intrigue.
Sure.
But yeah, I agree. Like there is so much of just like supernatural happening, and there's so many plots and relationships happening, and there's so many topics we're unpacking. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I definitely feel that for sure. Like it's a little mini series might have been a good route for this one for sure.
Yeah, I know you don't want to frame it as a criticism, but I will. I think it's a lot going on. It's all good stuff.
I was trying to be very nice,
but I do think
because I do like this movie.
Oh, me too. I think the one thing that prevents me from walking away feeling like, oh, that was a Coraline sort of thing is that it isn't quite as focused as Coraline, but all the stuff that is in there is really, really good. So I don't know what I would sacrifice. I don't know how I would rebalance it. I think that's the problem, is that it's all good stuff, right? So like, I do think, you know, strictly taking Wendell and Wild and pushing the balance more towards them might make a cleaner sort of story, but I don't know. But
it'll be worse.
What I would be more interested in. Yeah. And then making it entirely about Kat, I think drops off some of the stuff that's interesting. Making it entirely about Helly, I think gets rid of a lot of the interesting stuff. Yeah. But I also don't want to get rid of Helly. So I don't envy them trying to figure out the balance. But I do think, maybe the only solution would be to kind of let it breathe a little bit more in a series, or have it be a mini series or something.
Yeah.
They definitely take a big swing trying to interweave everything. Again, I watched it when it first came out, and then when this was coming out, this podcast, I definitely had to rewatch because I was like, I do not remember.
It's a lot.
Anything, because there's so much, and it's good things, good topics, good characters, but she's at capacity. The waistline, the button is about to pop when it comes to this movie.
The like creepy talking bear that gets like,
oh my God,
focused on a lot. Like there's so many just like random little elements. The mouth, the skull teeth mouth thing on her hand. That's a signal, the sign of you being a Hell Maiden. And it's like, sure, okay, that's just the lore. I'll take it. Fine. Yeah, whatever you say, movie.
Also, want to give a shout out to how cool it was when Helly is like projecting the images on the wall with like her eyes.
Oh my God.
Kat, your memories are what fuels the fever.
My memories?
Yes. Time to face your past. Ready?
Hmm?
That was the coolest shit I've ever
There's
seen.
so much stuff, like
so much stuff
right.
in this movie.
I mean, we haven't mentioned the fact that Kat can like see possible futures.
That's kind of important, isn't it?
You know what I mean? Like we haven't mentioned the fact that the principal dies and comes back to life and makes a deal with Wendell and Wild to bring back a bunch of other people to life to vote in a like. There's so much happening.
Their parents are back for most of the movie.
Yes,
like they get okay. Because we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. Those council members, I recognize that they're like certainly old, racist, terrible people, evil, but oh my God, they are so funny and cute. And I love that they're just like funny little skeletons who make grunting noises. I love those guys so much. I can fix them. I will fix them.
I love a good reanimated skeleton. I feel like that's like a touchstone of animation, like a good old like sartorial skeleton.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, and in stop motion, you've got Jason and the Argonauts. There's a legacy. You know what I mean?
Love it.
Yeah,
just fun, weird guys.
Yeah, it's hard not to feel an affinity for any character in here because the character designs are so good. They're so good.
Yeah.
We also have. I mean, we haven't even mentioned that like Siobhan's parents are like these horrible, like for-profit prison people.
Siobhan, come join the celebration.
We finally won the vote.
Mummy, Daddy, I know the truth about your prisons.
And what is that, Siobhan?
Well, you make a pile of money for every prisoner you take. So you pack them in like sardines, provide crap food, crap medical, dangerous conditions, and zero rehabilitation.
I am proud of you, dear.
That's our business model exactly.
Don't some people deserve a second chance? Like KK.
Oh, we love those break the cycle kids.
Going to bust them in by the hundreds to your school.
Then we make it impossible for them to succeed there. And when they fail,
our new prison will be waiting with open arms.
Which also, this cracks me up. Selleck talked about the dad, and he said at first, you know, well early into the development of the movie, because this started in like 2015, the development of the movie. He was like, we really wanted to base that character on Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump ran for president and won. And we thought maybe we should back off of that. So then we were like, what about Boris Johnson? And then Boris Johnson ran for prime minister and won. Like it kept happening. Like all the worst people that he could imagine basing this character off of, and then like winning massive political positions and be like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
So they're responsible for this, is what you're saying.
It sounds like it. Henry, you must be stopped.
Oh my God.
The manifestation was too strong. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
But they're awful. But they feel so, there's something about them that feels so like
they're funny to watch. They're really fun to watch.
They're funny to watch. They're extremely well acted and animated. There's something about them that feels so like 90s villain couple. Like there's something about them that reminds me of like
the tall woman with like the short guy.
Yes.
Like the short grimy guy.
Yes.
That like archetype of like 90s villains. It was perfection.
Yeah, and her fucking eyeliner and mascara just being like these
that
massive
hair.
Yes.
That wispy hair.
Yep.
Like she's a skeleton herself and she's not even dead.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's I think they're really fun villains. I love that this movie is unafraid with just having the just most evilest of evil people.
Yes, thank you.
They are not complex characters at all. It's just like, you know what? If you are someone who's a corporate CEO, if you run a big corporation, if you're like into the for-profit prison system, you're just a monster. And you know what? We just got to accept that. There are monsters in the real world. Not every villain's complex, as we have learned in real life. Some people are just evil through and through, and you just got to accept that.
Yeah.
It's also so cool just to see in sort of like a kids movie, for more or less, like Kat having to break down to Siobhan, no, your parents are running a for-profit prison. There's no wellness center. There's no massage. There's no like detox. There's no, pressed juices. Like this is a prison, Siobhan.
Yeah.
You know what
it's fascinating.
love about that? I love so much that there's very clearly like a scene we don't get where Siobhan like goes on the internet and learns all about for-profit prisons, because when she comes back to her parents, she's like, I know exactly what you're up to.
Radicalized. Yes, because she does go to the parents, and it does feel like she found out something.
Right?
It's not really addressed.
That was honestly, I know it's maybe a minor thing, but it still feels important. That's a knock I have against this movie is I feel like there's a really big gap that Siobhan just learns this off screen of how bad for-profit prisons are. And the thing is, we are all familiar, like here, I'm sure, with like why for-profit prisons are bad.
But when you're like the heir to a for-profit prison, none of that's being presented to you.
Also, in real life, if you have people watching this who aren't familiar with that topic, it is just sort of like Siobhan's just told, like, no, for-profit prisons are bad, actually. And then she just comes back and sort of like, Mom, Dad, I learned that for-profit prisons are bad. And you just take my word for it. They are
fair.
audience. Because I do think that, like, this movie does a good job, I think, of illustrating, like, the prison pipeline and, like, how those, for-profits perpetuate people staying in prison and making money off of it, right? And ending up back in prison and that cycle. I think that is demonstrated really well. I do think it kind of fails at actually explaining to people who don't know what a for-profit prison is exactly, like, why that is actually bad, other than just having characters say, it's bad. You know what I mean? It feels a little weird.
I bet you some exec was like, yeah, we just can't have kids walking out of the theater, walking out of their home being like, Mom, what's a for-profit prison?
Some executive that has
Why is it
investments
bad?
in a for-profit prison.
Yeah.
It feels like it needed a moment where like she went to confront them in sort of like an inquisitive way, but then like overhears them and learns from their own mouths like some of the horrible things that happens or something.
Sees
like
one herself or something. It almost makes it seem like she walked into one and looked at it. You know what I mean?
I know firsthand. Yeah.
The director's cut where Siobhan's exploring the prison.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
God.
I also love like there's like the epilogue where like Siobhan and the trio are like doing work like in like with prisons or whatever, or like advocacy, like all this stuff with like a focus on prisons.
completely. In my canon, I think Siobhan just went on Tumblr and she got the answers that she was looking for. Because that's usually what happens.
Actually,
at that age. That's when
so
you get
real.
radicalized.
I love
Tumblr is behind all of my radicalization.
Yeah, I want to read Siobhan's Tumblr blog. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, please. Give it to me. The bonus features.
Woo!
This is why we need bonus features again.
Yeah, thank you. I know that drives me so nuts. The fact that because this is on Netflix, there just aren't like there's no like Blu-ray DVD with like all your special features.
Oh my God.
Or if there is one, I didn't think to look at it, and that's on me. But
save physical media.
Exactly. Yeah, it's wild. I do appreciate you mentioned it, Derek, but I do like how clear they outline that pipeline. That these villains are basically like, if we kill this guy, we can try to take over his school. And then if we take over the school, we can funnel in all these like vulnerable youth that we can then funnel into our prison and make money off of. It's so fucked up, but they don't really pull any punches in having those villains present it as a money-making endeavor.
Again, when else have you seen an animated movie
right
tackle that subject?
But we weren't making like a big movie about the prison industrial complex or anything.
No.
Not at all. It's just about demons having fun. That's all.
It's cash.
Yeah.
It's super cash.
Yeah, having a little trip to the above ground world, you know?
Yeah.
This is just random, but why do the zombies look so cool after they get a makeover? I love it.
I know. I'm here
Wendell
for
and
it.
Wild, makeover artists.
Truly.
Also, I just love it. It just feels like one of those like Jordan Peele-esque tinges of the thing that's resurrecting these, corpses is hair cream.
Ugh, disgusting. Huh? Stop the cart. Stop the cart. Right, okay. That tick was dead.
Why you messing with me, Wild? We got a serious problem to solve, and you up here talking...
See, Wendell? I bet folks would pay a lot to come back from the dead, right?
Yeah, sure, only that was just a tick. We need to test the cream on something bigger.
That just feels so... I just love that detail. So good, so random.
Yeah.
It's like that inexplicable detail that ends up in his movies, like especially one with Nope, where you're like, just accept what you've seen. Like vibes are okay, you know?
Yes. It's just, I feel like he'll have these like set pieces, even in this, where it's just so memorable. Like in Nope, like I don't know what the government name for these things are, but like the car wash floaty inflatable things.
Yeah. Inflatable flailing tube
and,
man guy.
Yeah.
Yes, and like the hair cream here. I think even in Nope, when like the coin like falls through the dad's skull at the very beginning of the movie. There's just these set pieces that I just love in Jordan Peele's. The teacup in Get Out, so that was just another one of those moments where I was just like, yes, this is so good.
Yeah. It does make it so if you try to like list out plot elements of this movie to anyone, it sounds like you're having a stroke. Like
it sounds
just saying random words.
It really truly does. It really truly does.
You don't understand. There is this hair cream that is pivotal to the plot.
It grows hair, it resurrects dead things, and also it gets you kind of high.
And there's this hot bear that has a whole theme park on his belly. You just don't understand.
Yeah, it's such a it's so fun. It's so
but it's
fun.
still coherent at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean,
it all comes together by the end of it, and it makes sense. Like it's not like it's an incoherent movie, you know?
Right. It might be tougher to explain if people ask like clarifying questions, but like you can explain it to people, you know?
Yeah.
You can get there.
Yeah.
I think when people ask about movies, I give them 3 questions before I'm like, go watch the film.
That's such a good strategy. Holy shit.
Go watch the film. I've given you enough. No more.
I'm stealing this. I like this.
Yeah.
Are there any other characters that you really want to shout out that we haven't mentioned? I know we mentioned Manberg, but is there anything else we want to say about Manberg or his weird little lair full of like zombie jars?
He's my least favorite, I think. I don't really have much to say about him.
He was nice to look at. Another bear. This movie is full of bears.
It's true.
You know?
That's why I'm so curious about this character designer. I've mentioned he exists. So Pablo Lobato. We're gonna find out, buddy.
Great name. I guess like the other characters, I mean, there's a mom and the dad. I think that they're pretty straightforward though.
Yeah.
I think that there's nothing mysterious about what they want for their daughter. They want her to be able to move on. They want what's best for her. They want her to not linger in this grief. And yeah, I think that even their sort of resurrection, that's such a exotic supernatural thing, but they're super grounded. It's like they don't really act like they're dead and you're like, oh, we're ghosts. Like they're just really like, we're just your parents and we're very level-headed. We just want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's very in a lot of ways, this movie is like very medicinal.
They
It's very just things
Yeah.
are straightforward in a way. Things are presented to you in a way that's just we're not trying to trick you. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
These topics are what they are.
I do think there's something nice about that, right? Where it's sort of like
Yeah.
the parents are grounded, they go home to the basement to listen to some music and wait for Kat. And like that's fine. You don't need much more than that, you know? There's a lot told without like telling. There's a lot just shown, you know? I guess that's how I would say that.
Yeah.
I do love that her dad and Kat very clearly have connected over music, and specifically like black punk music, which like just doesn't really get a spotlight ever. So I think that's really cool. And the fact that like, I mean, this is something I learned from looking into it, but like the fact that they also are like into different eras of black punk music is very, very cool. So like the dad's music is like an earlier wave of black punk music than what like Kat necessarily would listen to.
Oh, cool.
Which is very, very cool.
Cool.
I just think that's neat.
I just love seeing alternative black girls in any sort of media. Because I feel like when we think about like goths and, you know, counterculture and all these things, oftentimes like black girls who are sometimes pushing new trends within these sort of,
Sure.
you know, punk, you know, spaces. It's really cool to see. And I mean, just from the moment that Kat's design dropped
Oh my
for her
God.
character, I was like, yes, this is so good.
Yeah.
Afro puffs and strapped up boots and just everything about it. It's
Those
so cool.
suits. The you mentioned it so early on, but the moment when she gets to the school and puts on her outfit and walks through the hall with that boombox is like so good.
So cool.
That's her runway,
Yeah.
and she knows it.
Yeah, had cool, great character design. I love that her family heirloom is like a boombox that's like custom with like art on it, like from her dad, like the big eyeball and everything. Like everything about her whole iconography is so cool.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's awesome. Yeah, the imagery from this is just so cool. Yeah, it really is a wonder that there isn't more or any merchandising from this, because everything looks so nice and so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like with Netflix original content, this is merchandising. Things are so like in 1 week, literally out of the conversation the next.
Preach.
That I feel like Netflix doesn't really have a chance to merchandise anything. I guess they have Stranger Things and they do like they're super huge IP they do merchandising for, but Netflix is just churning out so much all the time that it's a shame that we don't get merchandise for these great movies like, you know, Wendell and Wild. Like there's so much that we could have as a keepsake from this film.
Yeah.
Like there's endless things that we could turn into merchandise.
Ugh, and I would love it. It'd be on my shelf, you know?
Absolutely. Also, I saw your cat behind you.
Oh, my
and I was
actual.
like, you were like, yes, and I was like, oh, you're deep in a really good thought. So I was just like admiring from afar.
Oh, don't worry. I noticed him too and was like trying not to be, you know, he's not supposed to be up there, but we weren't going to say anything at the moment.
Of course.
Yeah.
He pays rent here, or add another pronoun. So they pay rent here.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else that folks wanted to mention before we wrap up?
James Hong is really funny in this.
Yes.
Maybe demons aren't the most trustworthy creatures to make a deal with.
Good morning, RBC. It's your very own Father Best. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. So I am back on the job, guiding this glorious institution into the future.
It's dear Father Best! Alive!
All right, everyone, okay.
One of the most comforting presences in any sort of film, TV show, anything.
Yeah.
Like immediate comfort actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that he gets to just kind of bounce back and forth between being like, oh, maybe he's kind of nice. No, maybe he's a bad guy. Maybe he's not really a bad guy. Like all throughout it. He's fun. He's very fun.
Yeah, he's so much fun. Yeah, I'm glad you shouted that out for sure.
Yeah, overall, I think that's it for me. Yeah, I'm really glad that this spurred me to watch this movie again, because again, I think there are a lot of great gems when it comes to streaming movies, but I think they can get lost sometimes because there's just so much. And I think without theatrical releases, these movies come out and they're not really events. And so I loved getting to talk about this movie because it's just so cool. I think watching it back is even cooler. And I think that every time that people, I think this is going to age really well. Like, I think this is a movie that's going to age extremely well. I think it's going to definitely become a cult classic. And so, Yeah. Whatever I watched, more please.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think it'll age really well. I hope it has its cult classic moment so much. I know what you mean too, but Henry Selick would love that you said that, because he's always talking about how like the one form of animation that will never age is stop motion. And I'm like, you're kind of right.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The movie's
So-
always going to look good. And I hope he and Jordan Peele do something else together.
Me too.
Again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hope folks ended up watching this as a result. I know, that's one of our big goals, is to like highlight some really good depictions of some queerness in some movies and TV, and to have folks who might not have otherwise watched it check it out. So hopefully we've done our job here. Marquis, I'm so happy you were able to join us. It was such a fun
great.
conversation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. If people want to find more of you or anything that you are working on, let them know where to find that and what to look for.
Yes, so I do stand-up comedy all around LA. I am yapping into all of these microphones all across the city. So you can follow me, and I make, comedy sketches, all these things on TikTok at Marquis Honey, or on Instagram at Marquis Honey Bear. My first debut short film as a writer, lead actor, producer, called Ornithomancy, will be out either this year or before 2050. There is no in between. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love to yap about films, and I have opinions on every single film. So this was absolutely lovely.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I didn't know the term ornithomancy before seeing your project. So my life is richer, and I can't wait to watch it.
And you nailed the pronunciation, because
thank goodness.
It's a complicated word. And 9 out of 10 times people don't, and I don't hold it against them. But when you said ornithomancy correctly out the gate, I was like, oh, well, this is a professional.
Thank you so much.
Professional interview.
Well, if you would like to find more from Derek and me, you can do that all over the place. Of course, the first place we would direct you is our Patreon at patreon.com/wallopingwebsnappers. Walloping Web Snappers is the name of one of our shows, but that Patreon supports everything that we do. Of course, we would like to take a quick moment to thank our spectacular patrons: Bo, Carl, Katie, Jason, Zoe, James, Keith, Cody, Toby, Hamish, Troidal Power, Blake, Thorn of Camor, Jace, Jojack, and David. Thank you so much. Of course, check out our Discord. There's a link in the show notes to a channel just for Falling with Style. Tell us all about what you think of Wendell and Wild. And you can find Derek and me individually. Derek, where can people find you and the things you're working on?
Sure. You can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. Find my other podcasts. I have Gimmicks, where we look at high concept and experimental structure breaking television, and also Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we're looking at the Simpsons tie-in video games, as well as pop culture history and video game history and Simpsons history. What about you, Doug?
You can find me all over the place at Ikkybooley, ICKYBOOLEY. You can listen to me on a podcast called Novel Gaming, where my friend Katie and I catch up on all the books and video games, and sometimes other media that we have been consuming lately. You can listen to Derek and me weekly on a podcast called Walloping Web Snappers. It's a deep dive into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. You can listen to that wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to find other queer creators who talk about media, check out the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective at glitterjaw.com. That includes a monthly podcast Derek and I do together called Screonk, a Godzilla movie marathon where we are stomping through Godzilla's filmography. It's kind of the spiritual sequel to Falling with Style, in fact. Our episode on King Kong Escapes with guest Hamish Steele is out now, and an episode on Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 is out on the 27th. Find more from Falling with Style at glitterjaw.com, and follow us on Blue Sky at Glitterjaw, and on Instagram at GlitterjawPods, and email us at pixarpodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all podcast platforms, and we will be back in a couple weeks with a conversation with the aforementioned Hamish Steele and the movie Flea.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Come on, y'all. Let's wake them up. Don't be scared. Come on.
It's weird they didn't learn from that either, because when they released Nightmare on Elm Street, they were like afraid to make it seem too Disney. So they like put it over here, and then it makes them...
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Sorry.
You said...
What did I say? Nightmare on Elm Street? I knew I was going to do that. I knew I was going to do that.
You know, the most Disney-fied horror film of all. So pure.
I would love to see it. Pixar's Nightmare on Elm Street.